Are you working for someone else, and have you been fantasizing about becoming your own boss and being a self-employed entrepreneur? But maybe you're not quite sure whether or not you've got what it takes to do it? Well, stay tuned in this video. I'm Dr. Patricia Thompson, and I will give you some tips that will help you to see if you're ready to take the leap. Hi, I'm Dr. Patricia Thompson. I'm a corporate psychologist and executive coach. I am also the founder of Silver Lining Psychology. You can find me at silverliningpsychology.com to find out the different ways that you can work with me one-on-one, bring me into your business, or take one of my online courses. So that's that. Oh, and make sure to like, subscribe, click the bell, all of that, so that you can see videos as I am publishing them. Okay, so first of all, this topic of becoming an entrepreneur isn't one that I just know about theoretically. I actually had the experience of feeling really ambivalent and scared. I was working for a corporate psychology firm and I felt like I wanted to do my own thing, but I was so scared to do it because it's a big leap. It's a change from having a regular paycheck to being the one fully responsible for bringing in my paycheck. And so I actually procrastinated for quite a while in terms of deciding whether or not I was going to do it. Then I had my son, and I remember there was one day where I was, he was a baby. We were up in the middle of the night. I was telling him he could do anything that he wanted to do with his life. Like you say to little kids. And I felt like a hypocrite because here I was telling him this stuff that I truly, truly believed for him. But I was wondering, well, why don't I believe that for myself? Or why am I not willing to at least give it a go? And in that moment, I decided that I wanted to bet on myself and at least try. I figured if it didn't work, I could always go back to getting a job, but I didn't want to be in a situation 30 years later where I would regret never having tried. And so in that moment, I decided to start my firm, Silver Lining Psychology, and I've been doing it since 2014. So I've been able to make it work for a while. And so yeah, I totally get any feelings of fear or worry that you might be having if you're still on the fence about it. But the truth is that I think, based on my experience having worked with a lot of people, that not everybody does have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And so I want to give you some things to think about as you're gauging whether or not you should be someone to take the leap, and how you might think about timing when you do that. Okay, so the first thing that I would recommend is to think about what steps you can start to be taking now to get things, the groundwork kind of in place for you to have your own business. And so, while we often hear about people running in, quitting their job, and then going off and doing their own thing, fact of the matter is that you can do it in a more slow and well thought out manner. So you can do things like research, getting an LLC or an S Corp or whatever sort of business that you might want to start. You could do research to learn more about how to get your business in place. One of the things that you'll probably need to be thinking about is marketing. How might I market my business? Or if it's something that's client related, how might I get clients once I get started? And so start to build your network and just lay the foundation for it. And as you're learning about these things, you might decide, you know what, this is way more trouble than it's worth. I don't think I want to do this. Or you might decide, hey, I can really do this. Let me kind of continue to go forward. Something else that you'll want to be thinking about as you're laying the groundwork is saving money, right? A lot of times when you have your own business, your inflow of cash can be unpredictable. And so you'll want to make sure that you have a reasonable cushion there so that if things are slow to get off the ground, you're not going to be in a position in which you're starving. So lay the groundwork. Something else that I did actually, and there might be something like this in your city, is with one of the local universities, they actually had a small business administration where you could meet with a counselor for free, and they would give you tips in terms of the sorts of things to think about in terms of getting a business started. So I would say the big thing to do is really start by doing a lot of research and just laying the groundwork so that when you do get up and running, you'll be doing it in a way that's well informed, or as well informed as you can be. One of the things that I found is that you definitely learn a lot as you go, and there's a bit of trial and error and plenty of mistakes. But at least you won't be going into it blindly. You'll have some sort of background and some sort of processes already set in motion when you're ready to pull the trigger. My next recommendation is to learn as much about yourself as possible before you start. So you should have a really clear sense of what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, or I like to call them developmental opportunities because it might not be a weakness, it just might be an area where you need to grow. But you should know those ahead of time before you get started. And here's the reason why. When you're starting a new business, you want to be really intentional in thinking about how can I get things off the ground in the best possible way. So let's say one of your strengths is that you're great at relationship building. Then one of the things that you'll really want to use is maybe leveraging your network. Or if you're a really good writer, then maybe you will, get a blog started so that you can get a following online. If you're someone who is really good at kind of logistics and thinking things through and being really organized, then that will help you to get processes and plans in place so that when you get started, things will be moving more efficiently. On the flip side, you also need to know the things that you're not as strong in, because some of them could actually be derailers that might prevent you from being able to be successful. For instance, let's say that you're super shy and you want to do a business that would require you to be out connecting with people. I'm not saying that you can't work on your shyness. You can, and actually being a business owner, I've had to work on a lot of things that were developmental opportunities. But the thing is that at least you will know, if I want to be successful, I need to really work on this, and I really need to push myself and come up with an action plan so that I can get better at this. Or if you're someone who's not organized, then you might need to get someone to help you to be more organized so that you can have those strategies in place. If you're someone who's terrible at time management, then you might find that you're not getting a lot of stuff done. And so again, you'll need to come up with a plan and a strategy ahead of time to think about, how am I going to get better at time management, and how will I set up systems to make sure that I don't just spend all of my time procrastinating and never getting anything done. But when you have a well-rounded picture of who you are, that can really help you to have a really good, well thought out plan for getting your business off the ground. In terms of how to learn more about yourself, you can do things like a variety of personality tests. I offer personality tests if you want to reach out to me. You could work with a coach, or you could just do a lot of self-reflection. Think about your job that you're in or your past jobs and think about, what is it that helped me to do well on those jobs? What are things that I really needed to work on to get better? And if I extrapolate thinking forward to myself as an entrepreneur, which of my qualities are going to be real assets and strengths? And how will I specifically work to use those assets and strengths to my benefit? And also think about, what are the things that I will really need to work on? And what's my plan of attack for doing so? If I don't know anything at all about marketing, who can I talk to learn more? Or is that something that I can outsource and have someone else work on? If I, need to really work on my public speaking skills, what's my strategy for doing that? Maybe I will read a book, or I will practice, or I'll go to Toastmasters. But have a plan in place. Like I said, I think success as an entrepreneur involves a lot of planning and a lot of willingness to put yourself out there, but you want to do it with your eyes wide open. So think about those sorts of things, and that'll help you. My next recommendation is to make sure that your stress management skills are top notch. It can be stressful working for someone else, we all know that, but being your own boss isn't like all sunshine and roses. There is stress involved because, as I mentioned, You don't have a constant paycheck. And so you are going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to be pushing yourself out there in ways that you haven't before. You're going to be dealing with uncertainty and ambiguity in ways that you haven't before. And so you're really going to need to have the skill to be able to manage stress so that you're not walking through this whole experience feeling super, super frazzled. And so, make sure you have a good self-care program. You might want to get into mindfulness or meditation. I actually have an executive mindfulness course. I'll put the link below so that you can know ways to develop mindfulness, which is really essential for managing stress. That's actually something that has really, really helped me as a business owner. Be aware of the things that you do to unwind. For me, exercise is a big one. Getting a good night's sleep, eating healthy, all those sorts of things. But you're really just going to have to be focused on building your resilience and your stress management skills so that when the inevitable stresses come up, you'll be able to deal with them and still stay effective. Something else that I think can be helpful is thinking about the job that you do have. And so if you're in a job that you dislike and you're thinking the grass will be greener if only I could work for myself, that's a possibility. But, instead of kind of making that decision based on negative emotions, it can be helpful just to take a step back and think about the job that you're in and maybe if it's worth staying. And so some things you could think about are, what do I really enjoy about this job? What is it that I dislike? Are there things that I could do to make this job more meaningful or more enjoyable for me? So for example, if it's your boss that you hate, could you get transferred to another department? Or could you work on maybe a project that would be more challenging, if you're in a job that you're bored with? And I'm not telling you this just to tell you like, hey, stay with the job that you're in. But if you're kind of doing this idea of being self-employed out of a feeling of being reactive, then, you might want to take a step back and really think about, is my job one that I could make better? And I don't need to make as drastic of a change in my life as becoming an entrepreneur. The last thing I would say is gauge your level of commitment. Becoming self-employed and quitting your job is a pretty big step. And so you got to make sure that you're ready for it. And something that can be really helpful is to really think about your why for doing it. So in my case, my why was that I'd had this burning desire to have my own firm, to put my own spin on corporate psychology from a positive psychology direction. And I wanted to see if I was able to do it. And I knew that I was fully committed to it. I had this little child that I had to make a life for. And so I knew that I was going to do whatever it took to make it work. And that meant doing things like videos like this. This is the kind of thing that I would have been way too shy to do before, but I knew I was willing to push myself and challenge myself to make it work. It meant reaching out to people. It meant doing a lot of stuff to market and promote myself that isn't kind of my natural tendency. It's become that way now, but it wasn't when I first started. But I knew that I was committed to being uncomfortable in order to be able to make my business succeed. And so for you, if you have a strong enough why and a strong enough level of commitment, then you will be willing to do what it needs to do to develop in the ways that you need to develop, to learn the things that you need to learn, and to put yourself out there to be successful in your business. But if you don't feel like you have that level of commitment, doesn't mean that you should never have your own business, but maybe you just want to really get in touch with your why and build up your motivation and make sure that you're willing to push yourself in the ways that you'll need to so that you'll be able to succeed. Ultimately, succeeding in business is being willing to believe in yourself. Like I said, bet on yourself, be willing to learn, not get too caught up when you make mistakes. You're going to make them, but being willing to dust yourself off and try again. And once you get all those together, I hope that you will succeed in yours. So I hope this video gave you some stuff to think about if you're on the fence. As always, make sure to like, subscribe, leave me comments if you have future videos that you would like me to make. You can visit me at silverliningspsychology.com. I think I've covered all the stuff there. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.